What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode. Um, Tonight, let's do some soup. All right, look, we've hit winter. All right, and we need something that is hearty, sticks to your ribs, warms your bones and your soul. Now, there was a place here where I live. Um, it was called the Truffle Hunter. They opened up back in the 80s, and sadly, the people got old, they retired, they had no one to pass it down to. But their food was absolutely wonderful. Everything made in house. Their bread, their soups, uh, even their corned beef, their desserts, everything. When the Truffle Hunter announced that they were closing, the whole community was just like,
No! What are you doing? You cannot close!
but they had no one to pass it down to. And this place was open for over 37 years, just a mom and pop shop. Well, just before they closed, they did the community a favor. They made a cookbook. And I've made this recipe a few times. And you know what? This recipe is made for like 20 quarts. So I've had to scale that back to 5 quarts. And so there's going to be some very interesting and odd measurements. So without further ado, folks, let's make our Hungarian mushroom soup. So let's get started. All right, friends, so let's get into the ingredients that we need. First off, we need mushrooms. You want at least 2.5 cups of mushrooms. Here I have some baby bellas that I cut up. Now, I did use more than 2.5 cups. I love mushrooms. You can add more than this, you can add less. And I also have some shiitake. Now, I chose these two of mushrooms because I love them. They're delicious. And use fresh mushrooms. Please do not use the dried. Rehydrate them and then cook them into this. You want fresh mushrooms. And now we have an even amount. 1 cup of chopped celery and 1 cup of chopped onion. We will need sour cream, water. We'll need some milk. Heavy cream. Believe it or not, soy sauce. Paprika. Cornstarch. This is going to be for the end so we can thicken up our soup. Mushroom base. I will leave a link in the description for this. The recipe does call specifically for miner's mushroom base. We're going to need some butter. And last but not least, folks, Worcestershire sauce. W sauce is what I call it. Because I found out nobody knows how to pronounce Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire? Y'all tell me how to pronounce it, please. Alright, friends, let's get our mushroom base. We are going to want 2 ounces of our mushroom base. Now, I've never personally measured this out to see how many tablespoons this is, but today, let's do that. That way, for those of you folks who don't have a scale, you can kind of get a rough estimate of what 2 ounces is. So I'm going with tablespoons. So it appears that each tablespoon is half of an ounce. So we'll probably need 4. Alright, well, tell y'all the truth, that was 3 heaping tablespoons. Alright, folks, the first thing we want to do is melt our butter. I'm using 2 tablespoons butter. And of course, the recipe will always be down in the description. Alright guys, over medium heat, we melted our butter. Let's add in our mushrooms. Baby bellas, shiitake, and let's also add in our celery and onion. This will cook for a good 10 to 15 minutes. Now you may be wondering, what kind of mushrooms do I use? Well, use whatever mushrooms you like. Just make sure they're fresh and they're not the dried mushrooms. I just remembered this, friends. We want 10 ounces of our sour cream. So let's measure that out now. Give that a nice good mix so all that water comes together. Alright, so 10 ounces. All right, that's about a good 10 heaping teaspoons of sour cream. All right, friends, a lot of the water is out of the mushroom, and our celery is starting to look a bit tender. This seriously took me about 12 minutes. So now let's add our water. 2.5 cups water. Now I told you guys before, this is going to be some weird measurements. So we want 3/4 of a tablespoon of soy sauce. If you do 1 whole tablespoon, I'm sure that will be fine. We also want Worcestershire, 3/4 of a tablespoon. If you add a little bit more, that's fine. And we also want paprika. Also, 3/4 of a tablespoon. So I'm doing a heaping 1/2 tablespoon. Now let's just give this a nice good mix. And this is going to simmer for 40 minutes. And to prevent the water loss, let's add our lid and let's turn our heat down to simmer. And I'll see you guys in 40 minutes. And every so often, friends, just give your soup a nice good mix. What do I mean by every so often? I'd say about every 5 to 10 minutes, just give it a good mix. Oh, if I did not mention before, friends, I added a total of 1 pound of raw mushrooms. All right, guys. This will be the longest part of the soup. Now the mushroom base that we measured out, I'm going to add this into here. Let's make sure that's well incorporated. All right, let's add our milk, friends. 2 cups. And now our heavy cream, friends. Also two cups. Let's turn our heat back up to medium just until this begins to boil. Alright guys, so after we add our milk and our cream along with the mushroom base, make sure you stir this thing every couple minutes. So you may be wondering, what is mushroom base? Well, let me tell you. Mushroom base is I honestly don't know what mushroom base is other than this makes the soup delicious. It's salty. It's a concentrated soup pretty much into this paste that the company, apparently miners, has done. And well, this will literally last in your fridge for months, if not years, because of how high the salt concentration is. All right, guys. So after doing some research, I found out mushroom base is it's like a bouillon, but it's not. So bouillons are made specifically to make like a quick stock. Mushroom base you can add in soups, sauces, salad dressings, and even more like dips. And so there's much more you can do with a base. There's mushroom base, beef base, chicken base, many of these bases. And before I filmed this, I honestly did not know what mushroom base was. Oh, and also, mushroom bases come either in a paste or a powder. So, the more you know. Alright, guys, our soup came up to a boil. Let's turn this heat down. Down to simmer. Now, we're going to take our sour cream and we're going to mix that in. Make sure you stir often. And if the sour cream seems a little lumpy when you first put this in, do not fret. Keep on stirring. It will eventually all incorporate into the broth. All right, folks. Once the sour cream is all incorporated into the soup and you see no lumps, it's time for the cornstarch. So let's add in 3 tablespoons. Oh, and if you're wondering why my bowl looks a little slimy, that's because the mushroom base was in this. You can't waste the mushroom base. So like I said, folks, 3 tablespoons. And now we're going to want just enough water to dissolve this. I say about a tablespoon, tablespoon and a half. I'm going to add a little bit more. There we go. All right. We have our cornstarch mixture. It's going in. There is no turning back now, friends. No turning back. This is it. Once the cornstarch is in, that's it. So now let's turn the heat back up. Medium-low heat. And we're going to bring this up to a boil until it thickens up.
A few moments later.
All right, once this has come up to a boil and your soup has thickened, let's turn off that heat. And let's bring it over. Bring it off the stove. All right, let this rest for about 5 minutes. If you can eat this now, but it will burn the hell out of your mouth. All right, guys. After you let it rest for a few minutes, give this a nice good stir. Because of all the cream that's in here, when you let it rest, there will be a skin that forms on top. Voila, friends. All right, you guys, it's time to dive into our Hungarian mushroom soup. Now, it's not a complicated soup, but it does take some time. It's about a 2 to 3 hour time frame to make this soup, But let me tell you, every minute is worth it. So, let's get into our soup. That 5-minute rest is not nearly long enough to let this thing cool down. This. If this does not put a smile on your face, I don't know what will. This will seriously. It's thick like a chowder. We added no salt thanks to the miner's mushroom base. I would add a little bit of pepper, but that's up to you. But it's chunky, it's creamy, it's thick. This is a soup that will make your toes curl when you eat this. I promise you, friends. The flavor is out of this world. I first had this when the Truffle Hunter was open. And when they closed, I was deeply sad. And, well, when they came out with their cookbook, I was like, all right, let's do it. This, what I showed you, is a recreation of the Truffle Hunter soup. If you love mushrooms, if you love soup, if you love chowders that are chunky and are thick, this, I promise you, you will enjoy. Well, if you guys enjoyed this episode, hit that thumbs up. Follow me. Make sure your notifications are turned on so you know when I have a new episode. And comment down below. Have you ever had Hungarian mushroom soup? What are your favorite types of soups? I mean, I would love to know, friends. And you know what? This is one of many soups that we are going to make. Thanks, folks.